As I walked through the door, I saw that my wife was excited. She ran up to me and gave me a big kiss as a greeting, then turned to go to the kitchen to finish cooking dinner today. I made your favorite tiramisu. I have some big news and I thought we could celebrate tonight, she announced as she returned to the kitchen. That's wonderful, dear, I replied. I have some important news too. Maybe we could have a double celebration. It was Friday evening and the work week was over while Shay rounded up in the kitchen. I went to the bedroom to shower and change into casual clothes since I didn't have to work tomorrow. I was looking forward to a long night of lovemaking with my wife. I had big news that I was sure would get my spouse very excited. I was dizzy with anticipation to hear her news and then tell her mine. I'm Larry Dawes. My wife's name is Sheila. We've been married for 7 even years, and we're both in our 30s. I'm 6'2" and tall, weigh 210 pounds, give or take a pound or two depending on the particular day. And I'm in pretty good shape while I'm not a heartbreaker. I've been told more than once that my looks are above average. I've also been told that I'm slightly above average in size, if you see what I'm getting at. Sheila is 5'6" and tall and weighs a good 110 pounds, plus she's in very good shape. We're both regulars at the gym. She has long blonde hair, brown eyes, 36C breasts, and a killer ass. I was pretty sure I knew what her news was. We had recently started trying to start a full-time family. My wife had gone off birth control pills a few months ago, and we had been like rabbits ever since. Don't get me wrong, we weren't, celibate before that either. For the first year of our marriage, we frolicked practically every night. And believe me, we weren't hanging shelves after the first year. Our marathon gradually slowed down. We averaged 3 times a week as friends. But since Sheila stopped taking the pill, we've picked up the frequency of our bed battles a bit. The only times it was put off were the few times I had to go out of town. I didn't spend too much time at work. I was usually in my office at 7 a.m. and left work at 5 p.m. I am a mechanical engineer. My schedule only changes when I need to go to a conference or seminar. This happens about once a quarter. I was promoted to engineering manager a couple months ago, so I had 5 junior engineers, 3 technicians, and a couple secretaries reporting to me. In addition, I had my own personal secret AR. Sheila works as a paralegal at a small law firm in town. She was one of 3 paralegal in an office with 5 attorneys. Her schedule is almost as regular as mine. The only variation in it is when every now and then there's a problem with a big case when she needs to stay a little longer in the evening after showering and changing. I made it to the kitchen. Just as Sheila was putting dinner on the table, she'd put her best foot forward tonight. I suspected she had taken the night off to prepare for tonight. She made chicken scallops, a wonderful Caesar salad, and garlic bread, and yes, she made tiramisu for dessert. Sheila pulled out a couple of bottles of really good marrow to serve with dinner and savor the exquisite flavor. Her news was clearly something impressive. I was really looking forward to our conversation today. I also noticed that she had dressed up for the occasion. She was wearing one of her sexiest dresses with a narrow and deep neckline, and it had a short hemline that put her legs on display. It looked like she was anticip in a wild and passionate night after dinner and dessert. I helped her clear the table and clean up the kitchen. We filled our glasses with wine again and retired to the living room to tell each other the good news. We sat on the couch, sipped wine, and discussed who would go first. She was excited, so it didn't take long for me to convince her to start. She was so happy, I wonder how she managed to last so long. Honestly, I expected the news to just come out of her spontaneously. We did it. Honey, I'm pregnant. We're having a baby. She was practically screaming. That's amazing. I screamed too when she saw my joy. She threw herself into my arms and kissed me passionately. We hugged and kissed tightly, letting the joy overwhelm us. Finally, she pulled away and asked me what news I had. I was almost as excited about my news as she was about hers. With a broad smile, I excitedly told her the glad tidings. My secretary, Josette, is also pregnant since she is single and doesn't want to raise the baby alone. We decided that she would just give her baby to us to raise. It'll be like having twins. Since you and Josette will give birth around the same time, they will be twins in every way except blood. Since I'm the father, there won't be any custody issues, especially since she's more than willing to sign over custody to me. All she'll want is to be involved in the parenting process like the most favorite aunt to the child. We'll probably have to explain this complicated aided situation to him or her when he or she is old enough to understand and accept it. But that can't be a problem for us, right, honey? I happily explained all this to my wife, bouncing with happiness. Strangely, I noticed a rather strong lack of elation on my spouse's face at this news. In fact, she seemed angry. Sheila had just informed me that our family was going to be increased, and I had just informed her that the increase would be doubled. I thought her happiness would also double with my news. Instead, it seemed like her happiness not only completely evaporated, but completely turned into extreme hostility. I was genuinely stunned. The expression of extreme rage on her face made me stop and hold on to the rest of my news as Sheila plopped down on the couch. I decided she needed to know everything, and it would probably take her from upset back to happy. Josie's first ultrasound revealed that she was having twins while it's too early to determine the sex. There's a pretty good chance that at least one of them is a girl. Maybe it'll just be one of them. Think about it, honey. You could have the little girl you wanted, and I could have a little boy, too. Whichever one of you has one will be a joyful bonus to me. We'll instantly have the big family you've always dreamed of. Come on. Don't frown, so much smile. I didn't understand what was going on here. Instead of being happy about the news, she seemed to get even angrier. It didn't take long for the explosion to happen. Believe me, Hiroshima was just a New Year's firecracker, you bastard. Sheila screamed, "You cheated on me with that in your office. What the are you thinking? Who made you believe I'd even think about raising that illegitimate children? Are you out of your mind?" From that moment on, everything went downhill. For the next half hour, she screamed at me every insult that has ever existed in the English language. I think she even managed to create a few new ones. This was not even close to how I had envisioned our exchange of news. I was beginning to think that my passionate night of lovemaking was not going to happen. And yet that didn't stop me. Honey, how about we move to the bedroom and celebrate our shared good news? I'm sure that after a night of passionate lovemaking, we'll have a much better understanding of what our lives will be like with 3 new children added to our loving family. I was surprised that she not only fiercely refused me, but also had the nerve to try to kick me out of my own bed. Well, if she doesn't want to sleep with me, she can find another bed. Finally, in a fit of rage, she grabbed the pillows and flew out into the spare bedroom. I was genuinely confused by her attitude. Oh well. Since I didn't feel I had done anything wrong, I rolled over to the other side and slept peacefully through the night. The next morning, I tried to lure my wife into our bed for lovemaking. She was still irrationally angry with me. I just couldn't understand her problem, seeing that she just wasn't herself. I decided to take advantage of a nice day and go golfing. It was a phenomenal day. I managed to hook up with a threesome. One guy, his wife, and her sister golf. We had a great time with Keisha, my friend's wife's sister, who happened to be single. I managed to come 3 times as opposed to her 5. I made a bet with her that I'd get her to 4 raptures, and I won 3 hours after our carambo began. I left her bedroom having previously filled all 3 of her holes to the brim. Upon returning home, I was surprised to find my garage door opener not working. That was odd. After checking the batteries and still not being able to open the door, I turned off my truck and walked to the front door. Oddly enough, I saw several suitcases stacked on the porch, not knowing what they were. I ignored them when I tried to open the door. I found that the front door was locked from the inside. There was nothing surprising about that. Though leaving in the morning, I went out through the garage. Perhaps Sheila hadn't come out and unlocked the door. The strange thing was that my key didn't fit in the lock. As I looked closer at the lock, I noticed that they seemed brand new. Strange, Sheila had never mentioned that she needed new locks on her doors anyway. I needed to get into the house. I was hot and tired. I needed to shower and change my clothes. Being a totally practical and delicate person, I just got my chainsaw out of the truck and started cutting the door around the doorknob and deadbolt. Once the doorknob and deadbolt were separated from the body of the door, it swung open freely. I made a note to go to Lowe's and buy a new front door. As I entered the house, Sheila launched into a new tirade. There was something odd about her declaration that I was moving, and my clothes were packed in suitcases on the porch. I wasn't going anywhere, not even a thought hearing such nonsense. I went back and carried the suitcases back to my bedroom. When I opened them, I saw that all my clothes were in there. It took me a few minutes to put everything in the right drawers and hang them in my closets while she continued to rant. I stripped naked in front of her and turned on the shower. Her Ciceronian snarkiness multiplied when she noticed the odor and moisture from Keisha on me. What is this? Is this serious? I didn't understand her problem. Sure, I had Keisha, but it was just a one-night stand. Well, okay, a one-night stand. It was just sex. I barely knew the woman. I asked Sheila to join me in the shower. She firmly declined my offer. I was beginning to think that she had some psychological issues that she might need to work out. I wanted to bring it up and offer counseling with a psychologist later tonight. After a good shower and a wipe down, I went to the bedroom to change. To my surprise, I found Sheila in the process of packing all her clothes into her recently emptied suitcases. When asked a simple question, she exclaimed that since I refused to move out, she would move out while I was in the shower. She apparently called her sister and asked if she could stay with her for a while. My suggestion that her pregnancy had messed up her hormones and made her react strangely was met with another outburst and angry tirades. I had no doubt that impending motherhood was the true cause of her odd behavior. I assured myself that once she had the baby, and when my twins from my secretary came home, she would be a great mother to all 3 children. Frankly, I was puzzled by Sheila's reaction. An hour later, she was gone. A couple days later, I moved Josette into my house. She needed support during her pregnancy, and since Sheila was no longer here, it seemed like the right thing to do after all the twins were mine. I'll say more, I'd invited Keisha over a few times to repeat our exercises. Usually it was one-on-one, but sometimes it was a threesome with Josette and Keisha. At the same time, it turned out that both Josette and Keisha were bisexual. A week after Sheila left, I was served with divorce papers. She asked for the house, 18 years of her support, 90% of our savings and investments, and $1,500 a month in child support. In short, she was in full compliance with our prenup. That was the fidelity clause. We put that in as a pretty severe penalty for fraud. Yeah, I knew about it. Yes, I slept with Josette and Kesha. Yes, all of you reading this believed I was a bastard and deserved to be burned. Laugh all you want 3 months later. Larry, what the screamed my wife Sheila. What the hell did you invent, you bastard? How dare you question my loyalty? You never get off your ass and you blame me? Yes, the neighbors told me everything, ungrateful bastard. It was our first meeting with the lawyers. We were sitting in her lawyer's office discussing our divorce. She intended to me in the ass without resorting to lube for my infidelity. I have to admit that she had the perfect tool to use, as well as plenty of evidence. Our prenup was designed to make infidelity very painful. The fact that I had impregnated my secretary, and I wasn't particularly immaculate, having Keisha gave her the perfect ammunition to whip me viciously. There was just one minor problem. Are you really sure you want to go down this path? Sheila, I asked, you cheated on me. You got your secretary pregnant. She got your secretary pregnant. You impregnated that, and you have the nerve to think I'm going to raise that kids, okay? Sheila, it's okay. Calm down right here, right now. I'm offering you a one-time offer, so we call off the divorce, get back together, and raise all 3 kids as our own. We forget about the past and get back together again. Our 3 children will be ours alone. Yes, Josette will be the twins' favorite aunt, but that's not all. You will be a loving mother to all 3. Understand, you will be a loving mother, and I will be a loving father. We might even have another child or 2. It's your choice, yes or no. I made my offer you. There's no way I'm raising your kids with that horny, she said. I looked at my lawyer and nodded. She responded to my nod. Thankfully, my wife didn't hire the meanest, most violent, hungriest, and most vicious shark on the planet. Luckily, that's what I did. Now, you've probably come to the conclusion that I'm a bastard who cheated on my wife. I can see you drooling at the thought of being burned to a crisp. Hold onto your seatbelts. My attorney, Lilith Shark, a telling last name, don't you agree, opened her briefcase with a smile that reminded me of a barracuda, ready to start a hearty breakfast. Mr. Zimmerman, since your client has declined my client's generous and even overly generous offer. Here are our new terms, she announced, handing the papers across the table. It took Sheila and her attorney a few minutes to make sense of the document and blush. That's when Sheila threw the aforementioned temper tantrum. The look on Sheila and her lawyer's faces changed from arrogant to panicked. Swearing, Lilith licked her lips and sucked in the saliva that had formed in her mouth. Yes, she was indeed the world's evil, a black specter of just revenge. The lawyer turned to Sheila. Complete panic was written all over his face. An application for DNA testing, he asked. Were you hiding something from me? Yeah, we know. Yes, of course I was. I answered for Sheila. Another nod from Lilith, and she pulled out a tape recorder, placing it on the table. She pressed a button. I'm curious, how will you make sure it's my baby and not your monkey's? Said the voice on the recording. It was Jason West, one of the lawyers at the firm where Sheila worked. No problem, echoed Sheila's voice. I always use my diaphragm when I have sex with him. Besides, you look so much like my husband, he'll never know he's raising your child. Okay, the important thing is that he raises him right. The bastard broadcast arrogantly. I hope his meager brain is enough to make my child a decent human being. I'm not going to pay for or take care of the kids myself. I do like the idea of having a child to whom I can eventually pass my inheritance, but that would have to be after he is an adult. When the child turns 18, we will let him know who his real father is. That way, I won't have to pay a dime to raise him. Trust me. Larry will never know until we tell your child on his 18th birthday. Then it'll be too late to tear your hair out, Larry. And I will have a few more kids by then, and there's nothing he can do about it without getting in trouble, so you're sure your husband won't find out about us. We've been having an affair for 3 years, and he has no idea he's dumb as a hornet. Besides, you look so much like him that any child of ours will look close enough that he'll never suspect it's not his child. We'll be fine, honey. The look on Sheila's face as the tape played was priceless. Lilith then pulled up the sheet with the application for fetal DNA testing. She also showed a copy of a lawsuit against Jason West for child support for his child. I was asking for $3,000 a month. He was a pretty successful lawyer. Okay. Since your client rejected the last offer, here's a new one. This, of course, will require a prenuptial agreement signed by both parties, so the divorce will stop and the couple will remain married until the last child graduates from high school. That's the minimum. If they jointly decide to stay married, they will be free to do so. A post-nuptial agreement will include the terms of the prenuptial agreement, but with a few changes first. The marriage becomes an open marriage for my client. He can have sex with other women as long as he informs his wife 24 hours before the date. The wife, on the other hand, is not allowed to have sex with other partners. Any shared children after that point will be tested for paternity by a DNA test. The children who are my client's biological children are raised in the home as befits a well-meaning parent. Any children accidentally conceived with other men, whether full-term or aborted, will result in the dissolution of the marriage and the termination of Miss Sheila's parental and property rights. Lilith concluded. I watched as Sheila's face went completely white. She was shocked that her affair had been discovered. Lilith turned on her shark smile and continued. If your client Sheila Dawes Maiden, named Sheila Manning, rejects this offer, we are fully prepared to enforce the prenuptial agreement on our part. Her affair began almost 3 years before my client's affair. In fact, he only entered into his adultery after he fully documented his wife's betrayal of him and her desire to have a child with another man. If she wants a divorce, she should be prepared to find herself homeless, penniless, and all of her friends and family provided with digital videos of her having sex with a man other than her husband. We are fully prepared to use nuclear weapons to destroy her. She looked at me and nodded for me to continue. Sheila, you wanted to force me to raise a child with another man as long as the child inside you is an innocent victim of your betrayal. But I'm not going to be responsible for it. What I am willing to do is to accept the child into our home as a stepchild, provided your lover becomes financially responsible. He will pay for his child's monthly child support, health insurance, medical bills, and education. He will also pay our family moral compensation for trying to destroy our marriage. I'll ask for $400,000. And then, whatever the court decides, although I seriously doubt he will want to visit us, he will be given free access to his child under agreed-upon conditions if he wants to. I looked at my wife's reaction. She sat there with her mouth open, not even trying to say anything. Well, I continued. He will also pay for his child's college tuition. I, for my part, will father that child as if it were my own. That is the price for your actions and Jason's actions. He said he didn't want to take responsibility for a child, but that's exactly what he'll get. Your price for betrayal will be to raise my children as your own. They will be your children in every way, except biologically, and God forbid you let them know that they are less loved than your own. I will kick you out in genes that will be in our agreement too. Okay, the only people who will know that the children are not biologically yours are the people in this room. And Josette, you thought it would be funny for you to watch me raise someone else's child. Well, now you can laugh raising another woman's kids. Did you understand what I told you? Sheila didn't answer anything. Only her lawyer, looking sidelong, replied, Yes, my client agrees. I continued to lay out the terms. Sheila, how much did you pay your lawyer? She hasn't paid anything yet. We agreed to settle after her divorce and first alimony. Sheila, the agreement will include a requirement to sell all your jewelry and pay the cost of his... I nodded towards the lawyer services. Out of the money, I'll do the selling with your notarized consent. We'll also sell your car and buy something simpler. You won't need a Porsche Panamera to go to the store for diapers." Lilith nodded approvingly at me, and I finalized the requirements. "You will also welcome Josette into our home when she wants to visit the children. This is your penance, you. You dare try to divorce me for having sex with another woman while you've been having an affair with another man for years. Do you realize how despicable that is of you? Well, you don't realize I have to talk to you from a position of strength. My affair only began after I learned of your betrayal. I heard how you plan to have a child with another man and to deny my paternity. And Josette was willing to bear my children if she didn't have to be a single mother. That's it, my dear. 18 and 2 years later, you mean to tell me that Aunt Josie is really my mother?" Audrey muttered, "What about Uncle Dan?" Andy asked. Yes, Josette had twins. Audrey was born a minute ahead of Andy Lenny. Sheila's son came into the world 3 days earlier. All 3 babies were registered as born to Sheila Lilith. Shark had a knack for this sort of thing. Of course she did. She was paid to do it when we presented the triplets to all our friends and relatives. We saw a lot of surprised faces in the end. Everyone finally accepted it as a natural, albeit unusual, occurrence. There were a few surprised comments about where Audrey and Andy's red hair came from, damn recessive genes. But I attributed it to the influence of my ethnic Irish great-grandmother. No, son, your Uncle Dan came along later. Your Aunt Josette got pregnant when she was single and thought you two would be better off with a married couple. We were close friends, and I agreed to adopt you both, as she was not in a position to raise you as a single parent at the time. By the time she met Uncle Dan and married him, it would have caused you too much heartache to make a difference now that you two know the truth. There's one more thing you need to realize. Your mother and I do love you very much, as if you were our own children. Nothing has changed in that regard. Also keep in mind that even though your aunt and uncle have their own family, you will always hold a special place in their hearts. We are all one big family. I concluded, so you have 2 moms now. How's that feel? They were smart kids, they understood. Did we really need to tell them that? Maybe we did. Maybe we didn't. Both sides have valid arguments. We decided they needed to know, so we told them about it. We also told Lenny that I was not his biological father. That was a little different. My son never met that tried to fight the paternity suit, but DNA is DNA. He tried to trivialize the fee lawyer. But judges get a little annoyed when someone tries to ignore their rulings. Judges also have what are called sheriff's deputies who can visit people in their homes and offices, arrest them, and keep them in custody until the investigation is over, after Jason, 12 days later, got out of jail. He sold his cottage and paid me $350,000 as compensation for moral damages. Oh, all that nonsense about an open marriage. I knocked on Kesha's door a couple more times to boost my self-esteem, and Josette and I kept our affair going for about a year. Sometimes she would just sleep over at our house in my bed. That was until she met Dan. As for Sheila, I'm pretty sure she never indulged. I did. However, keep a close eye on her, a GPS tracker on her phone, and a personal GPS SMS tracker wristwatch. She was under constant surveillance, constant reports of time spent away from home, money under strict accountability, and other jealous husband tricks for the first couple of years. Sheila never had a chance to have an affair. 3 kids, she was like a squirrel in a mixer falling asleep before she reached her pillow after, and I ended our affair. I never cheated on my wife again. I figured Sheila had learned her lesson otherwise. If I found out she was having an affair again, I'd hook up with Lilith and start all over again. As far as I could tell, she didn't. And I was watching pretty closely after Sheila recovered from childbirth. She started trying to me to death. Maybe she wanted to get rid of her husband by giving me a heart attack, or maybe she wanted to convince me that I didn't need anyone but her. It worked both ways, too. Jason West disappeared shortly after Larry's 18th birthday. He had already set up a college account for his son. We offered to let him visit his child, but Jason responded rudely. He accused me of crippling his entire life and wanted nothing to do with us, to tell you the truth. I wasn't really upset. Rumor had it that this Romeo had moved to the East Coast. The more credible rumor was that he was now located about 5 mil east of the coast. Of course, this rumor was only known to a couple of select people. Yes, I was a meticulous and even petty man when it came to payback. I couldn't let him slip away from his child support and college fund payments. And as for Sheila and me, what can I say? It's been 19 years since our little problem. I have done a lot of due diligence and found nothing. She's really turned into a good wife and mother. And by golly, she loves Audrey and Andy just as much as she loves Lenny. That kind of concern for her children can only come from the bowels of her soul. That glow of affectionate gaze on what are essentially alien kids can't be faked. I'm thinking of retiring early after the kids leave home. I've got almost $1 million in my account, so I can afford it. Some people would say I'm a wuss for taking a cheating wife back with someone else's offspring. Yeah, I could have burned her to the ground. But what good would that have done me? Who knows, maybe Josette and I could have been together. It's a moot point. The fact is, I wasn't burdened with raising someone else's child. Sure, I wasn't his father, but I look at it this way. Jason is paying for his upbringing. We're getting good money since Larry is going to a post-secondary institution. Poor Jason is going to have to pay child support for another 4 years. I took the opportunity to make sure the kid was raised right and didn't become another Young and had my wife raise the other woman's kids. It was a constant reminder to her that another, and she got pregnant. She also knew that while her lover had to pay for his child, she was paying for Josette's children, paying with her ego and her life. My being with Sheila also guaranteed that our 3 children would be raised in a loving home with both parents that far exceeds what anyone thinks of me. And love, as the Papuans of New Guinea say, love comes and goes, but you always want to eat.
Sign 10. A distinct sense of mission. Defining the sense of mission. Chosen ones often possess a distinct and compelling sense of mission that guides their lives. This is not just a career path or a personal goal. It is a deep-seated feeling of being destined for a specific purpose. This purpose is usually tied to making significant changes or contributions to the world, whether in the realms of social reform, environmental stewardship, spiritual awakening, or scientific discovery. Origins of the sense of mission. The origins of this sense of mission can be as varied as the individuals themselves. For some, it stems from the profound experiences or unusual events they've encountered, as discussed in previous signs. For others, it may have been a gradual realization, fostered by their unique abilities and insights. Regardless of its origin, once this sense of mission takes root, it becomes a driving force in the chosen one's life. Characteristics of the mission. The mission often involves challenges or goals that seem daunting to others, but feel natural to the chosen one. It may require overcoming significant obstacles, breaking new ground in thought or practice, or bringing light to overlooked or misunderstood aspects of human existence. The mission is not merely a task, but a calling that they feel uniquely equipped to handle. Impact on life choices. This profound sense of purpose significantly impacts all life choices. It influences where they choose to live, the relationships they cultivate, the education and training they pursue, and the daily actions they take. Each decision is made with an eye toward furthering their mission, even if it means personal sacrifice or taking paths less traveled. Emotional and psychological challenges. The weight of such a mission can bring substantial emotional and psychological challenges. Chosen ones might feel isolated by their unique purpose or burdened by the responsibility of their calling. Managing these feelings is crucial for their mental health and effectiveness in pursuing their goals. Interactions with society. In their interactions with society, chosen ones can be both celebrated and misunderstood. While some may recognize and support their mission, others may view their goals as unrealistic or their methods as unconventional. Navigating these social dynamics requires tact, patience, and sometimes a willingness to work behind the scenes. Support systems building and maintaining a supportive network is critical. This network might include mentors who provide guidance, peers who offer camaraderie, and followers who help implement their vision. These relationships can help sustain the chosen one through difficulties and amplify their impact. Legacy and long-term impact. The long-term impact of their mission can be substantial, often outliving the chosen ones themselves. Their efforts can spark movements, inspire generations, or change the course of history. The legacy they leave is not just in the accomplishments themselves, but in the inspiration they provide to others to continue their work. Reflection and adaptation. Throughout their lives, chosen ones may find their sense of mission evolving. What began as a narrow focus might expand as they grow and learn more about themselves and the world. They must be open to this evolution, adapting their strategies and goals as necessary to remain aligned with their core purpose. Culmination of the mission. Ultimately, the culmination of their mission is not always marked by a single achievement, but by a series of contributions that collectively fulfill their destiny. The realization of their life's work is a profound moment, offering a deep sense of satisfaction and, hopefully, a lasting benefit to the world. The journey of a chosen one is marked by these 10 signs, each weaving into the next, creating a tapestry of experiences that define their path. Understanding these signs can help those who feel they might be chosen ones to recognize and embrace their potential, and for others to support them in their extraordinary roles.